This is a continuation of part 1 of I Used a Dating Site Once. So if you have not read or heard part 1, I would suggest you listen to that or read it on Reddit in the links below. If you already have read or heard it, then welcome to part 2. Let's get started. I held the phone in both hands and stared down at the picture for a long moment. The truth of the situation and the terrible implications, it didn't sink in right away. It had to be my imagination or something. Things like this didn't happen in real life. At least, not my real life. I studied the picture again. That was definitely me, in the same green dress I was still standing in, and that was definitely my apartment building. And it was definitely from Scott. My stomach lurched violently, like I'd just been pitched over the edge of a tall cliff, and I clawed through my bag to find my keys. I thought getting into my apartment and putting a deadbolt between me and the outside world would bring me some relief, but instead, I just felt alone in a place that had somehow become too big with too many dark shadows. I turned on every light, my TV, my computer, whatever I had that could illuminate or make noise, and I sat in the middle of my living room praying that my parents would pick up their phone. "Hey, Josie." I almost started sobbing at the sound of my dad's voice. "What's up, kid?" "Can you and Mom come over?" There was a short pause. "Are you okay, Juliana?" "Yeah, I think so, but could you come?" I heard him tell Mom to get in the car, and the scratchy sound of the phone being shuffled from one ear to the other. "We're on our way. What's wrong?" I couldn't keep from crying anymore. I felt weak and childish, but I was terrified, and at almost 30 years old, all I wanted was my parents. "I think someone followed me home and is sitting outside the building." "Is your door locked?" I made a sound indicating it was. "Okay, honey, you're okay, right?" Another affirmative sniffle. "Good. Call the cops now. We'll be there in 5. Do not open your door to anyone except me. Understand?" "Okay, honey, you're okay. You're okay. We're on our way." I didn't want him to hang up, but I knew he was right. Before the call ended, I heard him say that he was driving. I dialed 911 and repeated my story, tears and all, to a sympathetic dispatcher who assured me she had a car en route. She asked me if I needed her to stay on the line, but I declined. I wasn't in immediate danger, and I wanted to talk to my parents more than a stranger. "You still okay?" My mom answered this time. "Yeah, the cops are coming. So are the boys. We're turning into your street right now, so we'll be there in just a minute or 2. It was the longest minute or 2 I've ever experienced. I paced from the living room to the kitchen. I checked the bathroom, including behind the shower curtain, and made sure both my linen closet and bedroom closet doors were open. A heavy knock filled the apartment, and I ran to check the peephole. My parents were standing on the other side, their faces drawn with worry, and I rushed to get them inside. Just having them there made me feel instantly better, and I was able to talk them through a Reader's Digest version of my relationship with the man who called himself Scott. My brothers showed up halfway through, Chris with a metal baseball bat and Kyle his hunting rifle. Dad acted less than thrilled with their choice to bring weapons and made them put them away before the police showed up. But I could tell it was only because he wished he'd thought to bring something himself. With the family surrounding me, my fear ebbed away more and more with each passing moment, giving way to embarrassment that the gnawing doubt that I'd overreacted. It didn't help that when the cops arrived and I showed them the text that explained everything, they told me they couldn't do anything. How creepy, using someone else's picture wasn't exactly a crime, and neither was taking my picture while I was out in public, and our texts all seemed friendly in nature. He hasn't threatened you in any way or made any attempt to come into direct contact with you? The older of the two said gently. I'm sorry, Miss Stone, but our hands are tied. They advised me to keep a log of any further incidents, left me both of their cards, and promised they'd circle the block a couple more times that night for any suspicious activity. A less than stellar ending, but if they didn't think it was that big of a deal, then it probably wasn't. Scott, or whatever his name is, was just getting his kicks by scaring a stranger. Feeling more stupid than afraid, I was ready to send everyone home with an apology. But Mom and Dad wouldn't hear of it. You're coming to stay with us a few nights. You really think I need to? Some crazy guy is taking pictures of you outside your home, and you are seriously asking if you should stay somewhere else? Oh, Chris asked in that older brother tone that really meant, what, are you stupid? And Kyle echoed the sentiment more bluntly. Don't be an idiot, Jules. While I packed a few days' worth of clothes in my duffel bag, my brothers and Dad went down the street, looked into cars to make sure that there wasn't anyone just sitting and watching. When they called up with the all clear, my mom and I locked my apartment and left. My brothers followed us in their cars back to my parents' house. They made sure we got in safely before going their separate ways. I apologized to my parents again for causing such a fuss over what was probably just a dumb prank. Pranks are supposed to be funny, Mom said. That guy's lucky we didn't find him. We bid each other good night, and I flopped, emotionally exhausted, onto the guest bed. Sleep crowded in my eyes, tugging my lids shut, and I was on the brink of slipping off into a peaceful slumber when my phone chirped. I was wide awake again, any trace of weariness chased off by the sound of an incoming text. I swallowed hard and turned to the nightstand where my phone was resting. Its screen lit up the otherwise dark room, beckoning me to pick it up. Across the top, I could read Scott's name. I debated on letting the message go unread, but curiosity and renewed ire won over. I snatched it up and unlocked the phone. Sorry, I thought it was just too soon to meet the family. Looking forward to seeing you again. Maybe alone next time. I felt sick all over again. He'd been there, he'd watched us, but for how long? I trembled, my insides a roiling mess of fear and nausea, but also, in the eye of it all, a growing seed of fury. He violated my trust, invaded my home, my safe place, and now he was mocking me. Never contact me again, you sick asshole. His number was blocked, all texts deleted, not like they served any purpose. I removed the chat apps we used, and I logged onto the dating site to delete my profile. That was the last time I'd ever tried going online to find a guy. With all means of communication cut off, I threw my phone on the carpet and buried myself beneath the comforter. The next week passed uneventfully. I didn't hear from Scott at all. so that was pretty much handled, I thought, triumphantly. Eva was mad I hadn't called her the night of, but forgave me over a couple of drinks and all the details. When she asked if I tried looking anything up about the guy in the pictures, David, I very adamantly told her no. Everything that had happened was so disconcerting enough without adding a layer of murder to it. She offered to let me stay at her place for a while, but she already had her hands full with 2 kids and Pete, so I opted to stay with my folks. Dad drove me to work, where security would escort me into the building, at my parents' insistence, and then we'd repeat the process at the end of the day. If I had to run an errand, I needed to make sure at least someone knew where I was at all times. My family and Eva went so far as to start a group chat so I could send them all my location within one single text. It quickly became kind of annoying, even if everyone meant well. If I hadn't been stalked before, I certainly felt like I was experiencing it now. That probably sounds ungrateful, but as much as I adored them and everything, I was thankful that I had such a great group of people who cared about me. I was ready to get things and go back to normal. Finally, when I felt like I was suffocating beneath the weight of their constant supervision, I had to sit my parents down and tell them I was going back to my apartment. I love you and I appreciate how much you've done for me, but I can't live like this forever. I need to go home. They tried to change my mind, but when it became crystal clear that I couldn't be convinced, Mom gave me a canister of mace and a whistle for my keychain. Even if we want you to stay, we understand. Make sure you use these if you have to. Remember, Jules, if it comes down to you or them, always pick you. They lingered for about half an hour after we got back to my apartment. Dad installed a chain lock on the front door. Mom checked all the windows, even though we were on the 3rd floor. And then we sat and mapped out the fastest routes to the police station. Tight hugs were exchanged when it came time to go, and they told me repeatedly to call at any time for any reason. Alone for the first time since that night, I have to admit I was a little nervous. Wanting to retake control of my home, I put on my PJs, booted up my computer, and ordered a pizza. I surfed the net while I waited for dinner to arrive, relaxing myself with puppy and kitten videos before eventually making the rounds to Facebook. I was met with over 50 friend requests, all with the same message. Looking forward to seeing you real soon. Every single profile picture was of me, none of which I'd ever seen before, and all recent.